18 insane ghosts from the movie 13 Ghosts Explained, the origin story. William Castle directed the original 13 Ghosts in 1960, which was made into a fantastic remake by Dark Castle and directed by Steve Beck in 2001. This remake introduced viewers to several unresolved mysteries, and among them was the Black Zodiac, which was a dark reversal of the traditional Zodiac. The 13 Ghost remake doesn't stray too much from the original plot, even if its characters are new and amidst a more modern high-tech setting. It narrates the tale of Arthur Criticos, a widower who is surprised to learn that he inherited a mansion from his late uncle Cyrus. He moves into the place with his kids and their nanny. As viewers know from the original, this is no ordinary mansion, but one that imprisons 12 angry ghosts that need to be used to complete a spell. Although this remake wasn't a box office hit, it rapidly acquired a large cult following. The Black Zodiac, like the one used in astrology, contains 12 signs that correspond to each one of the ghosts. However, the signs and the ghost rules here are unique to 13 Ghosts. Once their ghost counterparts represent all the Black Zodiac signs, they can be activated to use Basilius's machine. It can open the Ocularis Infernum, aka the Eye of Hell. Now, why would someone want to open something that says the Eye of Hell? Well, it's said that it's a demonic eye located in hell that, once opened, will allow its user, whoever's able to control it, the power to see everything in the past and future, heaven and hell, the blessed and the damned as well. This video will showcase each one of the ghosts from the remake, explaining their original tale.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
The Firstborn Son. In his novel, The Arcanum, Thomas Wheeler depicts the firstborn son as a young boy with a split head. His name was Billy Michaels, and he was the first ghost to be captured by Cyrus Criticos and the first in the Black Zodiac. He was a young boy addicted to Western cowboy movies and hated and disagreed with everyone. The voice of F. Murray Abrahams as Cyrus Criticos describes Billy Michaels as simply a stubborn brat. He notoriously got everything he wanted, whenever he wanted. One day, one of Billy's friends found a real steel arrow in his closet and challenged him to a duel. Billy dressed in his cowboy suit and armed himself with 2 toy guns. Unfortunately, these were no match for the arrow, which hit him on the back of his head, killing him instantly. As a ghost, Billy remains in the cowboy outfit, holding a tomahawk with the arrow protruding from his head. Criticos claimed that his refusal to accept defeat and a rebellious attitude made him a perfect fit for the circle of angry spirits.
Spectral viewers, you can see the ghost.
The torso. The torso is depicted as a long-haired human figure with no lower body. He walks around on his hands. The torso and its head are separated from each other, and both are wrapped in plastic. In his past life, the torso was known as Jimmy the Gambler Gambino. He was the son of an addicted gambler who spent his childhood on the horse tracks. Due to his love for gambling, he became a greedy casino owner. One day he was challenged by a wealthy businessman who sealed his fate. After betting heavily on a boxing match and losing, he tried to retrieve his money and flee. Unfortunately, the businessman and the winning boxer caught up with him, chopped Jimmy into pieces, and wrapped them with cellophane, throwing the parts into the ocean. He now lurks within the mansion, forever screaming in agony. The Bound Woman. The third ghost in the Black Zodiac, referred to as the Bound Woman, shows a dour-looking woman dressed in an Elizabethan ruff. Criticos picked Susan LeGros for this role, a woman described as being born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She was the daughter of the wealthiest couple in town and the most popular girl in high school. She was a cheerleader, but what most stood out about her was her ability to seduce several men and toss them away. During her prom, she was dating the football team captain, Chet Walters. But Chet wanted revenge when he discovered that she cheated on him with someone else. A few days later, Susan was found buried under the 50-yard line in the local football field. She was bound with ropes and strangled to death. She still roams the mansion in her prom dress and crown, and her arms tied behind her back. The bound woman was first seen luring Arthur's son into the mansion's basement.
That's a good boy.
The Withered Lover. For this role, Cyrus Criticos chose his niece, Jean Criticos. She was Arthur's loving wife and the mother of his children, Bobby and Kathy. She loved her family deeply, but could not be saved when she rescued them from a horrible fire that burnt half her body. She succumbed to her burns and met an untimely demise in the hospital. After her death, Cyrus captured her spirit to become the Withered Lover. She now resides in the mansion's basement. She's seen to be communicating with her son Bobby on several occasions in the movie, warning him not to follow the bound woman into the basement.
What are you staring at?
The Torn Prince. Royce Clayton was the Torn Prince and one of the primary antagonists of 13 Ghosts. Born in 1940, he was a baseball player and a major in his league that lived a miserable small-town life. However, he was arrogant and had a superiority complex. In 1957, he was challenged by a greaser called Johnny to a car race. Due to his ego, he accepted. Unfortunately, his car flipped over and exploded during the race, sending tire shards to the right side of his body and tearing it to shreds. His ghost carries his favorite baseball bat, which is also his weapon. He wears a leather jacket and jeans with his right side completely torn to shreds. The background to his containment cube portrays his destroyed race car.
Hey,
The Angry Princess. The Angry Princess is the ghost of Dana Newman, who was an incredibly beautiful woman. Her problem was that she was always unable to recognize her beauty. Her self-loathing and low self-esteem escalated due to her abusive relationships, which led to her receiving various cosmetic surgery, like breast implants and nose jobs. One night, as she was alone in the clinic, she attempted to perform surgery on herself because of an imaginary imperfection she found on her face. The procedure went wrong, leaving her blind in one eye. Soon after that, she committed suicide by slashing herself with a butcher knife in a bathtub. She appears as a pale, unclothed woman living in the mansion after Cyrus captured her. Her body is still covered in deep cuts, and her hair is soaking wet while she lives in the mansion's basement. The Pilgrimess. Isabella Smith was chosen by Cyrus Criticos to be the Pilgrimess. She is a minor antagonist but a significant character in the 2001 version of 13 Ghosts. Before her death, Isabella was an Englishwoman who traveled across the Pacific and settled in New England during the colonial period. She was an outcast in her town, being isolated and continuously ignored. When the town's livestock began mysteriously dying, she was accused of witchcraft by everyone, who then chased her to an old barn and set it on fire. However, she somehow emerged amidst the ruins unharmed. She was then sentenced to the town square within the stocks, where she died of starvation. She wears a long black dress, and her skin appears to be severely messed up. She only makes her appearance in the film before the end. The Great Child and the Dire Mother. The great child, also known as Harold Shelburne, was born to Margaret Shelburne after being raped by the tall man. His mother always spoiled him, and as a result, he was infantilized and wore diapers his whole life. He and his mother faced a difficult life, being mocked and tormented at every scope. Even the other freaks in the circus teased them. One day, some of them decided to play a prank on him by kidnapping his mother. Enraged, he ran after them, but unfortunately, his mother had died of suffocation inside the bag she was in. Harold completely lost his mind in an instant and brutally murdered everyone by chopping them with an axe and destroying the entire carnival. Jimbo, the carnival owner, was outraged on hearing this and ordered a massive crowd to kill Harold. Even after his death, his ghost is never apart from his mother, who is always by his side. Margaret, the dire mother, was a 3-foot-tall dwarf since her childhood and dressed like a doll by her mother. She joined Jimbo's carnival looking for sustenance. After being raped by the tall man and giving birth to Harold, whom she loved more than anyone else, she was often mocked for her poor parenting skills. Besides being seen continuously with her son, even as ghosts, Margaret is constantly either feeding Harold or holding his hand. She's dressed in worn-out doll's clothing and is much smaller in size than Harold. Moreover, the two are never seen actively attacking anyone, but merely scaring them so another ghost can appear and do it. The filmmakers didn't think this backstory would be very shocking for the mother-son duo, so they created a new one. The Hammer. George Markley was chosen by Cyrus Kritikos to become the Hammer. He was a major character and villain in the film. George was an honest African-American blacksmith that lived during the 1890s. After being wrongfully accused of theft by a white man, he was threatened with exile, but he refused to leave town. A gang led by the same white man kidnapped his wife and children, hanged them, and burnt their bodies. Due to his anger and outrage, he used a sledgehammer to beat the culprits and kill them. After this, the townsfolk dragged him to his shop and inflicted him with severe forms of torture. He was bound to a tree with ropes and had railroad spikes driven into him. As a final touch, they chopped off his hand and replaced it with the hammer. George's ghost is one of the most aggressive ones in the film. His entire body is impaled with spikes, and he is the only African-American ghost in the movie.
Unbelievable. Another one of Cyrus's victims. I hope to God the barrier spells hold.
The Jackal. Ryan Kunn is the Black Zodiac's Jackal. He's a major character and villain in the film and the 11th ghost. Ryan was born in 1887 as the son of a prostitute. He was born with a dangerous mental illness that gave him a constant lust for murder. He admitted himself to Borehamwood Asylum for treatment, where he was locked in a padded room with a straitjacket after horribly attacking a nurse. After several desperate attempts to escape, he was permanently put in a straitjacket tied so tightly that it permanently damaged his limbs, until the doctors locked his head in a metal cage and sealed him in the basement. Ryan soon died in a fire outbreak in the asylum, unable to escape. Many years later, Cyrus captured him and locked him in a containment cube in the mansion's basement. Ryan is an incredibly frightening ghost with the metal cage still on his head, with the front bars ripped outwards. His skin is severely scarred, and he has long, black hair. He's also the only one whose position within the Black Zodiac is explained by one of the characters as the sign of Hell's Winter. The Juggernaut. Horace Mahoney is the ghost who becomes the Juggernaut. He was born completely deformed and grew to a height of 7 feet in his adulthood. He was an outcast throughout his life, ostracized by nearly everyone. When his father died, he was all alone and soon went insane. He began killing people, and his first victims were 2 female hitchhikers whom he took to his junkyard and tore apart with his bare hands. After his arrest, he broke free and killed 3 police officers. The SWAT team opened fire on him, which ultimately led to his death. Horace's ghost is disfigured, and his body is covered in bullet wounds all over. His clothes are ragged, torn apart, and stained with his victim's blood. Juggernaut is the only ghost that viewers see being captured by Cyrus at the beginning of the film. He was also called the Breaker because he liked to break his victims into as many pieces as possible.
Oh my God, Gene. I loved you so much.
The Broken Heart. The 13th ghost in the Black Zodiac is the Broken Heart. The Broken Heart is a sacrifice of life, the only ghost to be created out of an act of pure love. It can only be made once the first 12 have assembled. Arthur Criticos, the protagonist of the film, was meant to be the final ghost in the Black Zodiac. The Broken Heart is also a failsafe that is required to stop the process. It must be a willing human sacrifice that stands in the way of the eye during the final configuration. As the eye opens, the spirit uses the power of life to short-circuit the system. However, at the end of the film, the 13th ghost is necessary to power up the Basilius machine. Cyrus chooses Arthur for this sacrifice, knowing that he will willingly give his own life to protect his children. In the Black Zodiac, the Broken Heart is depicted as a knight who pierces his chest with his sword. The Latin inscription beside his symbol reads, Corda Tacita, which means silent heart. The Broken Heart sign also appears on the key Arthur uses to unlock the mansion door at the beginning of the movie.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.